Hey guys, and welcome back! In our last video, we managed to create a menu screen and a transition to it. During this video, we are aiming to implement our logo. To be more precise, the logo has to come using an animation. The hardest part will be on you guys because I need you to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. It makes a tremendous difference for our Wallachia community. Once you did that, comment down below and I'll make sure to answer to all of you. Thanks a lot for your support and let's start! Considering we need to use the same feature for our menu buttons, we will start by implementing a new generic type. I will create a new abstract class called baseAnimatedWidget, which will extend the base widget. On top of the existing interfaces, we'll add a new one called run, which will essentially start the animation. We also need to implement a state transition, so I'll create a new enum called animation state. The animation states will be not started, ongoing, bounce back, and finished. The interfaces are prepared, so let's create an actual implementation. I'll call the new type basic_animated_widget, and it will extend the base_animated_widget. In the constructor, the first argument will be the path to the image. Then we need to pass the ratios for the width, height, x, and y. For rendering, we'll use a sprite component, which I will initialize from a sprite using the image source. I will also create one animated state object and initialize it to not started, but I'll explain why we need this in a bit. Would be good to be able to calibrate the actual duration of the animation, so I'll create this member as well. Then, because we need to bounce back, I will create a bouncing threshold and initialize it to 120% of the animation duration. The animation will be done based on the time, so we'll need to know what is the current step of the animation. The render routine is fairly simple. We need to save the canvas, render the component, and restore the canvas. Because the size of the component is dynamic, we won't be doing anything in the resize routine. Run will simply set the animation to ongoing. Now, the tricky part is the update routine. Before moving forward, I do need to explain the state transition. When the animation is not started, the width and height will be set to 0, so we won't see anything. Then we need to gradually increase the size of our component a bit bigger than the final value, and here is where the bouncing threshold comes in place. So this is the ongoing state. Then, once reached the bouncing threshold, we do have to reduce the size to the desired values, and this should be the bouncing state. And finally, once we reach the desired size and position, we'll switch to the finished state. If the state is not started or finished, we won't be doing anything. If the animation is ongoing, we do have to append the time to our animation step. The animation step will be used to define the current size and position of our component. If the animation state is bigger than the bouncing threshold, it means it is too big and we need to start to bounce back. I will create one private method called resize animation, but we'll be filling it a bit later. Once the step has been updated, we will ask the animation to resize to the current step. If the state is bounced back, we need to decrease the animation step so the size of the component is reduced. If the animation step is smaller than the duration, it means we reach the final position, so we have to mark the animation as finished. Again, we'll ask the animation to resize to the current step. The menu buttons will start the animation after the logo finish, so we will need to pass the instructions for this. And when the animation finished, we'll execute the finish instructions. Okay, now let's resize our component. First step is to calculate the animation rate by dividing the animation step to the actual duration. The width will be calculated based on the screen's width multiplied with the width ratio and the animation ratio. Then we'll use the same trick for the height. The component needs to be centered on the provided x ratio, so we'll multiply the screen's width with the x ratio and decrease it by half of the component's width. We will do the same for y and we should be good to go. Then we need to define our constants. I will set the width ratio to 50% and the height ratio to 25%. The center X will be set to 50% and the center Y to 25%, but you can play with these values to get the desired result. It's time to integrate it with the menu screen. Using the File Explorer, I'll paste the logo image asset and then pass it as a source to the base animated widget. For the ratios, I'll simply use the constants which we just defined. I will set the duration to half a second and when the animation finished, I will pass an empty function for now. We have to render, resize and update our logo. Whoops, it seems like the image was named icon instead of logo. And this is the result. The trick here is we didn't actually start the animation, so its sizes will be set to 0. For this, I'll set a timer to run the animation after 200 milliseconds. And voila, the animation works as expected. You might have noticed these black screens in between, but this is because we haven't preloaded our assets. I normally do it at the end because you keep adding assets and you might just forget about some of them. I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I did making it. Thanks a lot for watching and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers!